Give it a little pizzazz, you know?
Pizzazz.
You're an entertainer now, you know?
I know.
This is your chance to express the entertainer in you.
I
You've
hear
wanted to do this for so long.
I hear you.
You know, get fucking angry. You know?
I'm not angry.
Get mad.
I'm not mad.
All right, that's good. Get glad, bro. Come on, you got it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the I'm Not Crazy podcast. Bam. Bam. You know, like Emerald.
Yeah. I don't have that. I don't got that energy.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah, just go into it. This has been great.
I like
really,
this.
Yeah, this has been great.
All right. Welcome to I'm Not Crazy.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. You nailed
I'm
it.
not crazy.
Fuck yeah.
I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy, bro.
I'm not crazy.
You know,
right?
no ill intent to the actual mentally ill.
Right.
Get that out of the way now.
That's just
not trying to belittle anyone.
Right.
You know, I don't think you're crazy either.
No.
I mean crazy in the sense of like, the end is coming. Like that's the crazy I'm talking about. Which could be mentally ill, but we're gonna move on.
Right.
We didn't introduce ourselves as people.
Yeah, I'm Yusei
I'm
Fernari.
Andrew Venor.
That's Andrew.
That's me. That's Yusei.
So this is a show where I'm going in blind. I'm along the ride with you guys. I'm along the ride with you, right?
Yeah, you're along that ride.
Yeah, I'm along the ride.
We're all on the same hayride.
We're all on the same boat.
Watch out, there's a guy climbing on the side. Oh, it's so spooky.
Andrew is going to try to scare us. He's going to try and convince us.
Boom.
Yeah.
They're real.
Yeah. He's going to try and defend himself. And he's going to also try and, fight some of the things he has to say.
Objection.
He's got objections.
Fuck yeah.
So, yeah, we're just along for the ride.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the Westfield Watcher. I don't hear anybody screaming for joy. Where's all the laughter and joy from my people?
I'm sorry. I thought you were starting reading the thing.
No, so we're going to be talking about the Westfield Watcher.
Yes.
Or the Watcher of Westfield, which realistically, who gives a fuck? But it's this story is nuts. This is totally different than the last story that we spoke about. This is 100% real in one way or another. Even if it's not real, it's still real. It's still like a very real thing that could happen to you, your family. Our microphones are so sensitive, right? Yusei just put a cup of water down, and he did it like he was like breaking the first atom for the atom bomb. He did it so slow, and it still came through. That boom that you heard.
I'm sorry.
Listen to ready? This is okay. Ready? That's just putting something, the lightest thing on the table. It's crazy. So if that's the noise you hear every once in a while, we're human. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
We're working on it. All right.
We'll get there.
So, June 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus had just brought us.
They brought us.
They brought us
some food.
Brought us frankincense and myrrh.
Got you. I'm reading it now. Brought us.
There you go. Derek and Maria Broaddus had just bought their $1.3 million dream home on 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. Great. Happy for him. Derek decided to take a break and check the mail, triggering a series of events that would turn their dream home into a waking nightmare. This is the terrifying story of the Westfield Watcher. I really enjoyed doing that. That was really fun.
That was actually really good.
All right, so before we get into the actual details of the story, we are going to get into the details of Westfield as a town.
Okay.
Because it is decently interesting. There's actually something that has happened in Westfield that if you grew up in the area or you grew up in New York even, you might know. But it was a huge story. And yeah, crazy. So Westfield, New Jersey was a very affluent neighborhood, ranking 99th richest town and 30th safest town in the country at the time. The locals described the town as idyllic and safe, but also said it was full of money and ego, which we will very much see in a little bit.
Okay.
And in this little bubble of a town was Boulevard. This is where all the people wanted to live. This is where the most sought after houses were, including 657 Boulevard, which, as we said, is where Derek and Maria Broaddus bought their house. There's my cat. But Westfield also has a dark past. Why you gotta scream now? He's very cute. It's hard to get mad at him.
I can't get mad at him.
The reason he's yelling is because he's in my room. He's on the bed, looking in the mirror, thinking there's another cat, trying to play with him. That's what he's doing. There he is. What's the matter, baby boy? All right, good.
All right.
But Westfield also has a dark past. In 1971, John List brutally murdered his wife, mother, and 3 children, then went on the run, eventually remarrying and taking a false identity. After 18 years, he was finally apprehended due to his crimes being broadcast on America's Most Wanted.
That's insane.
He was on the top 10 fugitive list on the FBI.
Yeah.
He was like one of the most sought after people for years.
Ugh.
Because he was like, family annihilators are a very specific crime. It's like a very specific thing. Yeah. And usually in this case also, it has to do with religion.
Right.
So he was uber religious, and he just felt like he was, basically he thought that disappointing them as a man was worse than sending them to heaven. Or at least that was his reasoning. I don't think that he actually believed that, because he remarried and had another family. So he was just a piece of shit. But whatever. So Westfield is famous for this happening before the Watcher.
Jesus.
So like the town always had this very like, you know, rich, haughty attitude, while also having just like this very dark underbelly that's always there, and it's always this weird feeling. And the people in the town like kind of echoed that. They said like it was great living here, but like during that time we were very afraid for our children. We didn't know if we should let them go out and play. We were afraid for ourselves. Like it was crazy. Oh wow, it's that spray tan.
It said it's the 99th richest town
in the country.
That's insane.
Yeah, in the country. So, you know, it ranks very low on the overall list. It ranks 99th, so it's like it just barely made it. But I mean, how many towns could we say there are in the country? There's probably 100 towns in upstate New York alone.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, being the 30th safest town is also nuts.
I know where this is.
Westfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even scarier.
It's not that far.
It's not.
It's like really close to here. Like one of the reasons why people would live there too is a lot of people that work in the city.
It's a mad nice area.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I
looked up, like, you could see, like, obviously, like, Google Maps view, and just going over this whole thing, I just naturally, eventually just looked, and it's gorgeous. Even the house that they spoke about was gorgeous. So, built in 1905, the mansion at 657 Boulevard sat on one of the most affluent roads in town. Having grown up in Westfield, moving back to the wealthy part of town was a dream come true for Maria. She had lived in Westfield growing up. She remembered the John List story. That was like something that she remembered about the town. She said, other than that, it was great, but that was very scary and fucked up, and it fucked up the town for a minute.
Right. This is from the perspective of the house.
This is from the perspective of Maria and Derek Broaddus.
Gotcha, perfect.
So we are looking at it from their perspective, and then we will deviate a little as we go to other people as the story kind of builds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So raising a family in Westfield was very important to them. And Derek had worked hard, eventually becoming a senior vice president of a New York-based insurance company. They moved forward with the sale of their house and promptly started renovating the new place for them and their 3 children, which is also a thing. There was a family of 5.
Let's go, Derek.
Idyllic, right? Real American.
Yeah.
You cut them open, you get gravy.
White picket fence.
Beautiful.
Apple pie.
A few days after the sale, Derek had just finished painting the home and decided to check the mail, unknowingly setting off a life-changing bomb, as we had said in the intro. While going through the bills and random advertisements, Derek came across a typed letter addressed to the new owners, quote-unquote, on a blank envelope. Though the full letter hasn't been released, it mostly reads as followed.
Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its forces within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of our family for decades now, and it approaches its 110th birthday. I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, my father watched the house in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. I see that you have also flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house it is supposed to be. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
I can't say that. Bad word. Bad move, sorry. Bad word also.
Bad word.
But bad move.
Yeah.
You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. You have children, I've seen them. So far, I think that there's 3 that I counted. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family, or was it agreed to bring you and your children here? Once I know your names, I will call to them and draw them to me. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I'm in one of them. Look at all the windows that you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I'm in one. Look at many of the windows at 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by you each day. Maybe I am one. Welcome, my friends, welcome. Let the party begin. The Watcher.
That's the first letter.
No.
They just get worse.
This is the one that you told me about.
Yeah, this is the letter that got me hooked. Because as soon as I read this letter, I was like, no fucking way.
No.
And like, I have to say, right? And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, right? I'm going to suck my dick real quick, right?
Right.
Because like every time people cover this story, every single one, except the cut article. And I want to make it abundantly clear that article is amazing. If you're interested in this, go read that. There's things I didn't include just out of respect because I didn't want to just take their entire publication.
Right.
But it's beautifully written. It's amazing. Go read that. It's The Cut. If you just search The Cut, The Watcher, if you go into the description of the podcast, you can find the link to that. But it's fantastic. In that article, they go over every detail from front to back. In any other time that anyone covers this event, they only cover the first two letters, and then that's it. They end it. There is so much more that happens.
Right.
It's fucking nuts. And now, picture this. Derek had just read this totally anonymous and terrifying letter at 10 p.m. in the home that he was just described as being under constant surveillance by the Watcher. He was obviously upset and shook up and started just running around the house going nuts, shutting off lights. He eventually called the cops, and then he just sat outside and waited for someone to arrive.
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
So they didn't live in the house. So they were just renovating.
Gotcha.
They were living with Maria's parents at the time. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's a spoiler. They were living in their old house. They had up until a certain date, and then they were going to renovate and then move into the new place for the new owners to come into their old house.
Gotcha.
So a little while later, an officer shows up and tells Derek that there's nothing that could be done other than document the letter. Frustrated, he rushes to the old house, tells his wife what happened, and they both come up with a plan. They decide the most logical move is to contact John and Andrea Woods, the family that had sold them the house, which is 657 Boulevard.
Makes sense.
Now, I just want to say, no matter what happens going forward, right? I am so sorry for this poor family. John and Andrea Woods just get shit on, and all they did was sell their house. They claim that they received one letter in the past right before they moved out, and they said it was very similar, but it didn't have all the Youngblood stuff. It was just very well, just similarly worded and written and all that.
Right.
And they had basically said that other than that, they never got anything and everything was fine. So everything just piles on. You'll see. It's almost comical.
Gotcha.
So the next morning, the Broadduses receive a concerning response back from Andrea Woods. They sent her out an email and she had answered back. She claims that though they have no recollection of the letters in the past, they did receive a letter a few days before they moved out, like I just said. The letter supposedly contained the same info about the Watcher's history, but was much less threatening. The discovery of this letter was enough to convince the local PD that it was an actual issue, and they requested that both families keep everything quiet. They did not want the neighbors to know because now everybody around them was a suspect. So now this is important.
Sense. Yeah.
So now keep in mind, during everything that happens from this point out, until I say that they told the neighbors or the neighbors found out, no one fucking knew anything specific was going on. Even when it gets really weird and shit gets really fucked up, the neighbors just were speculating. They had no idea what was happening with this house, right?
Okay.
And now this house is on a road that is rich and famous. Everyone knows who's living in each house. It's like the houses are gigantic and it's just one road, right?
Right.
So like everyone's looking at this house like it's one of the nicest houses on the block. Like what the fuck is happening with the people moving in there?
Right.
Even though the family was still freaked out, they decided to continue renovating, assuming that it was done and it was just a letter. After only 2 weeks, their fears were confirmed, and a second letter was found in their envelope. I'm sorry.
They got... Wait,
hold on. I got to say that again. The second envelope was found in their mailbox. Continue.
You're telling me after that letter, they continued to renovate the house?
Yeah, because realistically, right, you know this is going somewhere. But take yourself out of that.
Yeah.
From their perspective, they received a letter. It's a prank. You know, this is like a very, like people in town, not everyone in town can live on this block. Like it is the town revolves around how much the next person is making. You just want to be better than your neighbor. That's all, this town is nuts from what they talk about.
Right. I can see that.
So like someone playing a joke like that, it's not like the worst thing, you know, ooh, Jesus, sorry. It's not necessarily the most like out of left field thing, in my opinion.
Right.
You know.
Okay. But still.
I know.
If that happens to me...
it's still very scary. They were still taking it serious. Yeah. But yeah.
Did they own the house?
They bought it, yeah.
So it was like...
Yeah, they were fucked. They were stuck.
Fucked. Okay.
Like,
so
this is now their new home.
All right, that's different. Yeah, that's different.
And they were selling it, like, their other house had already been sold, and they had up until a date. They cannot back out. It's already been done.
Ugh.
You know, so their thing was like, all right, well, we're moving in either way, right?
Jesus.
Letter number 2. Here we go.
657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It's been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be afraid if I were them. It's far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic, or will they sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedroom facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who's in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I'm the Watcher, and I've been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on, and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family.
Now, you notice how it's spelled. That is intentional. It's spelled Braddus.
Broaddus.
Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you here to me. Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching.
Terrifying.
Have a happy moving in day.
Yeah. If you need any help, let me know.
Like, why did he...
Wave out to the woods. I'll come out.
like, do we really need that?
Yeah, terrifying. So how they got this information was the husband, Derek, met up with the person that wrote this article. I unfortunately cannot see who wrote it because of how they have the website formatted. I would have to put on my email and all that. So whoever wrote that article was sat down directly with Derek. And he basically gave them the letters up front, right?
Right.
So the letters are incomplete. They kept out information that would more or less have to do with their kids to a certain extent, but they gave them the general idea of what they said.
Got you.
So the letter also mentioned the kids by their nicknames, even asking if one of the daughters was the artist of the family, because there was an easel that she was painting on that was only visible from the backyard.
No.
Now, mind you, the backyard is connected to someone else's backyard. So, like, it's very weird.
No.
The Broaddus,
and they were right? That's how they knew who she was. No.
Yeah.
No.
The Broaddus family did not bring their children back there after that. They from that point on, they said, okay, the kids are not coming back here. They did not feel safe, and it was just all fucked up. So now at this point, they start kind of going crazy. And it's around this time that the blame starts to land on the family next door, the Langfords. While doing some independent research of Langfords, for some reason, the name, I know they live in a rich, they sound like hillbilly people.
Like, yeah.
Is that offensive to say hillbilly people?
I don't even know.
All right. That's fine with me. Sorry.
But the name Langford to me is funny.
It just doesn't sound like they belong in the neighborhood, and that's kind of how it feels to everyone else also. While doing some independent research alongside the police investigation headed by Detective Lugo, Derek discovered a few things. 1, the Langfords were one of 2 neighbors that had a clear view of the back porch with the easel on it, and was close enough to hear Maria and Derek talking to their children in the house. That was also something that was interesting, was that he specifically mentioned that he could hear them speaking. That's how close he was.
Jesus Christ.
That was one thing also. They were trying to use that. Now, mind you, this is all Derek's investigation, okay?
Yeah.
Number 2, the history of the Langsford's house does match the timeline left by the Watcher. And since the other neighbor had not been there since the 60s, that squarely points towards the Langfords, specifically Michael, who was diagnosed schizophrenic. So they really landed the blame on him because of his illness and his diagnosis. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And finally, they were seen as strangers to the neighborhood. But that when the police started to investigate, there was no solid proof the Langfords were responsible, claiming Michael wasn't even capable of writing letters due to his illness.
Oh, damn.
And they actively started to push back and blame the police for harassing their family. This led to the police kind of dismissing this whole thing and just kind of backing out and saying, we don't want to get involved, telling Derek unless someone confesses or gets caught in the act, there's nothing they could do.
Got you.
Do you see the next sentence I wrote? You want to read it?
Let me just recap that real quick. Man. So basically, because the family was tight, that they were oppressing them, they were like, we're going to sue you back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why.
So no one's suing. It's just investigation.
Investigation. Yeah. Gotcha.
But now the Langfords are like, fuck you. We've lived here forever. We never had a problem. And fairly so. They were like, we never had a problem. You're just coming after us because our son is fucked up.
Our
and
son
like,
is...
he's not even capable of doing anything. Like, he's really like very sick. Like, just back off. And like, totally reasonably. You know?
Right. So the police did the right thing. They were like, you know what? We don't want to be biased.
No, the police totally backed out.
They backed
just kind of like...
Right.
And now, okay, so before we go any forward, I just realized we didn't read the thing that I wrote in caps. Everything we say in this episode is our opinion, and everything said is alleged. Bam. Done.
Done.
Safety. So... they were 100%, they backed out, and then they just did not help unless they were absolutely like hounded to help.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely did not have the town's back, the town's support at all. The town thought they were nuts, right?
Right.
So am I reading that sentence?
And it's at this point that Derek goes balls to the wall.
Hell yeah! Wow. All right.
The
Broaddus investigation.
I would just leave. Forget the wall.
So they're still not living there yet. They're still just renovating. But now it becomes like a thing of like, now Derek's like, yo, fuck this guy. He's fucking with my family.
Seriously?
Like, there's one point that Derek tells the person writing the cut article. I don't know if it's now or later. I might come up to it later. But there's a point where he tells the person writing the cut article, and he's like, yo, where I came from, you do this shit, you get fucked up. Like, that's how he literally said it to her, like straight out of Brooklyn. And it's hilarious because he did nothing. He got nothing done. He got nothing solved. It's great.
Oh my god.
So Derek kind of lost it at this point.
I would too.
And
How
said
do you
that
not?
during this time he would crouch in dark parts of the house and try to catch the Watcher in the act in the middle of the night. He went on to hire a private investigator, which investigated the Langfords and found nothing. He also enlisted the help of not one, but two retired FBI agents. A few interesting things came out of this. The letters were written on a typewriter and contained what they described to be an erratic level of typos in the writing. Indicates someone who may be unhinged, aka, for example, BTK or the Unabomber, who both wrote letters. And one of the things that I want to point out, and this is a really interesting fact, the really interesting detail that I thought, I got really excited when I saw this. But one of the characteristics of specifically BTK and the Unabomber, right, is when they would write letters, they would intentionally spell things wrong or fuck things up so that they could kind of throw people off to think that they're either mentally ill or stupid. Literally. That was BTK's goal when he wrote letters. And this kind of does the same thing. He misspells the family's name, which either could be because he's doing it on purpose or because they could hear them saying their name, but they don't know how to spell it.
Right.
Which is fair. But their name is Broaddus.
Right.
So broad, but they get like the two S's at the end. So it's like, it's a weird thing. It's a weird way to misspell it. It's a very intentional misspelling. So like, it leads me to think that the person knows exactly what they're doing. It's intentionally being written like this. I don't think it's as unhinged as they're saying it is.
Right.
Because like, as unhinged as BTK and the Unabomber were, the Unabomber was pretty fucking unhinged, but between the two of them, they were also very controlled and very calculated. And it doesn't scream unhinged. Like, unhinged to me is like just the guy that, the bath salts guy that ate the guy's face off in Miami. That's unhinged.
Florida man, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
these guys are writing these clever letters.
Exactly.
They're not,
Exactly. They also clearly loathe the wealthy. And something, somewhere during the third or fourth letter that was received, this is all, what did I just say?
This is all that I could find.
And somewhere during this time, a third and fourth letter were received. This is all I could find from those letters.
The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You've changed it and made it so fancy.
You're stealing
You're stealing its history. It cries for the past and what you used to be in the time when I roamed the halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard when I ran from room to room imagining the life with the rich occupants there. That house was full of life and young blood.
Stop saying young blood.
Then I got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died, and now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again.
Bro.
So now this is also now an interesting layer. So now apparently he was in the house at some point in the 60s, which is, it's like, it's so obviously not possible because how old is this guy? But I mean, I guess he could be in his 60s, but it's just so weird. It's so uncomfortable. Now you see.
Yeah.
That's written there. Now you see. The Broaddus family never stopped renovating the house. Keep in mind, no one knew about the letter but the family, the police, and some friends. The Langfords would meet with the police to settle things, but they would almost always get the heat with... What? It would almost always get heated with the family insisting that they had nothing to do with it. And again, I truly don't think they have anything to do with it.
Right.
And this is where the investigation fell apart. The Langfords were totally ruled out. The suspects pool went from one family to hundreds of neighbors and became way too overwhelming for them.
Right.
And the police just gave up. The PIs ran out of leads, and the Broaddus family kind of imploded. Maria and Derek were fighting constantly, and the time came to start moving in. But they were still receiving letters.
Hell no.
So now this is a fragment of a new letter.
657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again and be patient and wait for this time for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood once again play like it did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it. Let it alone.
I know it's scarier. That's the scariest of them. But, like, I don't know why. It's just really funny to read it. Like, he's just complaining.
Yeah.
They had already sold their old house and were living with Maria's parents at this point. So now that house, they've already gone past the date where they can move back into their old house.
Right.
So now they are in their Maria's parents' house, right? While the letters were obviously a huge reason, their public image was still very important to them. Rumors started to spread all over Westfield about what was going on with the family. Some speculated divorce, since Derek would just say legal issues anytime anybody would ask. He would use that as an excuse. And it all became too much and they decided to get out of there. This all happened, so far what we've covered was the first 6 months. From when they bought the house and received the first letter to now, it's been 6 months.
And they didn't spend a day in there.
They didn't spend a single day in there.
Fuck that. Hell no.
Yeah. So now we're going to get into the next stage. The Broaddus family tried to do the next logical thing and put the house back on the market and sell the house. Once the house was put on the market, the Broaddus family thought they had no choice but to mention the letters to potential buyers, claiming that if they had an accepting bid, they would show them the letters in their entirety. All bidders were offering a ton below the market value due to the rumors around town, and there was no success. They did not agree to any of it. It was like they would have lost potentially half of their investment.
Right.
Around this time, the Broaddus family decided to file a legal complaint against the Woodses, the original owners of the house.
The son with the schizophrenia.
No. These are the people that sold them the house, not the Langfords. That's the next door neighbor. This is the original owners of the house.
Because they didn't tell them about
Because they didn't tell them about the original letter. Exactly. This legal notice was kind of what sparked this entire story blowing up. And now what's really interesting is when I told a couple people I was going to cover this, almost everyone that I told kind of was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that happening. Because it was huge when it happened. It was like a really big story for like a week.
Right.
It was just one of those like flash in the pan stories because it's super interesting, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of content behind it. But it's wild. It's fucking bonkers. So this is now where the story blows up and the internet get involved. What? What am I saying?
Get involved.
Get involved. The internet started to do what they do best and wildly speculate who the Watcher could be. Some of these people included a disgruntled mistress of Derek's. To be clear, does not exist that we know of. So there is no reason to speculate that he had a mistress.
Right.
And I put that in there for a reason, because Reddit was most of who was doing the investigation. And let's say they're a lot more miss than hit when it comes to doing this type of stuff. They usually fuck people up more.
I could imagine.
So some of these people included the disgruntled mistress, a realtor trying to get the house back on sale so that they can make more money on it. So they claim that maybe the person that sold the house was trying to get them to leave so that she could make the commission on 2 sales instead of 1, which is a bit of a reach. And then they even, people online also were speculating that this was all indie horror advertising for a movie. So they thought that someone was making a mover and this was 100% like a PR scheme, which would be brilliant if it was. That would be amazing. Yeah. And Redditors mocked the family, stating that they would never let a terrorist win. And they would move in the house and they'd beat him up with their bare hands because they are Redditors. So, fuck yeah. Just like if Mark Wahlberg was on the 9/11 flight, it never would have happened, according to him. He would have fought those terrorists with his big, strong man hands. All this attention...
There you go.
Yeah, it's insane. All this attention obviously hit Westfield. So now, all of the mystery and intrigue of what was going on all came out. Now everyone knew the details, and they were blown away by the fact that it was so different than what they thought. They thought that they were in a bad divorce, and now they're like, there's like a supernatural entity sending you letters. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. So the town started to slightly panic, specifically Boulevard.
Hold up.
Yeah.
When they said that they saw the easel, right? Mm-hmm. How many points can you see that from? So that should have narrowed down who was
2 neighbors, and they both got ruled out immediately. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a neighbor. It could be someone literally like crouching in a bush. It could be literally anybody.
That is true.
Yeah, it's very scary, very frightening.
I would have like security 24/7.
Yeah, I mean they spent so much money on private investigators and the 2 FBI guys. They spent they spent so much money just trying to prove they weren't crazy. And now there's kind of a major twist coming here. So the town started to slightly panic. Again, mostly Boulevard. But just to tell you that I'm not exaggerating, the mayor of the town had to make a public announcement to the town and say that everything is okay and the Watcher is not coming back when he had no idea what was happening, just alongside everybody else. At this point, something very interesting happened. Letters started being sent to the local paper from neighbors of 657 Boulevard claiming the police never spoke to them. It turns out that the only people that the police had spoken to were the Langfords and that one other neighbor totally gave up, never investigated anything. At all.
What? Okay.
They never did anything. So now the neighbors start to kind of the neighbors start to then take that as the Broaddus family is lying.
Oh. Okay.
So now the neighbors turn on everyone. So now there's 3 camps. There's the Broaddus family, the neighbors, including the Langfords, and the police and the investigative area of it. And they're all angry and fighting with each other, and they're all telling each other they're wrong. And the investigative part is also the internet area of that.
Right.
So it turns out the police did not exhaust all their options and instead gave up very early on, leading to public outrage. It was at this point that the Broaddus family officially lost their collective shit. Wrote that down. They hired a forensic linguist and past Sha-Na-Na member, which is a band, and they found nothing. So they literally brought in like someone who analyzed handwriting.
Right.
And they put it up against the family's handwriting, the neighbors, and no one came close.
Yeah, no, I don't care about that. What the hell's a Sha-Na-Na?
Sha-Na-Na? It's a band. I don't know. Oh, no, I just dropped Sprite on my floor. Well, I guess there's Sprite on my floor now. Sha-Na-Na is a band. I don't know what type of music they make. Here, let's try to find some Sha-Na-Na.
Sha-Na-Na.
Let's see.
I like how you glossed over Sha-Na-Na, remember?
Because I couldn't get it out.
As if that was a normal word.
So this is Sha-Na-Na. This guy helped investigate.
What? This is the song? That's them?
What?
Wow. Are we gonna get fined for playing that song?
So anyway, the police were now shamed into investigating, and one of their senior guys, Baron Chambliss.
Chambliss?
Baron Chambliss. I feel like these names are made to make me fuck up. My mouth can't say these names. I feel like I have marbles in my mouth.
What was the other one?
With the Wamsleys? So Baron Chambliss, he was a senior investigator there. I think he was a detective. And he came out and was basically like, oh yeah, they didn't give you the thought that you needed, when he was literally in charge of the detectives and he actively chose not to investigate. But whatever.
The thought.
It's all me. I got this. So he did something that they probably should have fucking done immediately, considering they were threatening their children. And they ran DNA that was found on the letter. And they found that it was a female match. I've been saying him this whole time because in my head, I just feel like just a man had to have done this because it's so fucked up. Yeah. But like, it was apparently there was a woman matched to the envelope. But that doesn't necessarily mean they wrote it. It could just be that it was delivered by a woman. Yes. Right. So they ran the DNA of the Langfords and also the Woodses, just to be clear, and nothing came up. It was a match to neither of them. One night while staking out the house, Chambliss noticed a van pull up to the front of the house at around 11 p.m. and deemed it suspicious because it sat in front for a while. So he kind of trailed up a little bit and watched what they were doing. They traced the car to a female who was dating a man from the Boulevard. This part's so stupid.
What?
When questioned, she claimed her boyfriend was into very dark video games where he played as the Watcher. When he was asked to come for questioning, he did not show up either time. That was it. He was just there wasn't enough on him to make him show up, so they just were hoping he would come in and incriminate himself. He never showed up.
Gotcha. And
just to, as a little side note, since everyone's probably thinking, what game was it?
Yeah.
I did it seems like it's the game Darksiders, which is a hack and slash game that has a character named the Watcher in it. Came out around that time. I'm thinking when they say very dark video games, she probably said, oh, my boyfriend likes the game Darksiders. And it's a dark, literally with that word dark in a video game.
Gotcha.
So whatever. But there is a character named the Watcher in it, which is interesting. I think that this is very suspicious.
Yeah, you think?
This is like a fucking neon arrow pointing at the answer.
You're telling me this is the end of the line?
No, this is not the end of the line.
Oh.
No. This was just something that happened, but they can never prove it was him because he never came in. So there is no definitive answer to who the Watcher is.
Right, but I'm saying the end of the line for the girl who said the boyfriend plays the Watcher. Did they investigate her at all?
Yeah, no, they investigated. Nothing else came up. Never showed up at the house again. I would assume they asked neighbors. No one had ever really seen her other than going into that house. And also, to be fair, she could have just been on the road because her boyfriend lived on that block.
Right.
So how many times have you driven down a street that someone lived on and you were like, I got to pull over and and sat there. The investigation lost steam totally. The house was still up for sale and the public had completely turned on Derek and Maria and knew every little detail. At this point, Derek proposed selling the house to be turned into a halfway house, more or less to spite the neighborhood that had now was convinced that he was the Watcher. So literally his plan was to make a halfway house and cause, more or less cause the reputation of the neighborhood to go down. Right?
Just to spite the whole fucking market value.
Yeah. Just to spite him, right? They finally landed on selling the lot to be developed as a duplex, but needed the approval of the city board, not the silly board, the city board. On the day of the hearing, the neighbors showed up in droves and to fight this proposal, which after a very long, literal 11-hour hearing, they were denied and they could not build a duplex on it. So they were forced to keep the house that's there on the land, and they had to either sell it, live in it, whatever, but it was theirs. They were stuck unless they got a buyer, right? But after years of absolutely terrible circumstance, the Broaddus family finally got some relief. A family who was willing to rent the house showed up with the stipulation that they could leave if the Watcher becomes too much of an issue. The Broaddus family agreed, and the family moved in. They were not making enough rent to cover the mortgage. They were literally paying the mortgage, most of the mortgage out of pocket.
Right, yeah.
Because the town wouldn't let them do anything with this house. Right. This is the part of the story where there is less than zero proof that they had anything to do with this other than just being the victims of these letters.
Right.
And the fact that the town didn't help them in any way is really fucked up. Like, they actively went against helping them in every aspect because to them, they were outsiders. They were like, who the fuck are these people?
Right.
You know? And it's really messed up because, like, they were getting threats to their children. Like, the person actively said, let them go in the basement. You can't hear their screams. How is that supposed to be taken?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
But because they don't want the value of their house to go down.
Exactly.
Fucking selfish people.
So, one day, Derek goes to the house to do some maintenance with I think he was going to paint or something, and the renter handed him an envelope.
Stop.
Assuming that this is not the full letter.
Violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria. You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked by the news truck when they took over our neighborhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions.
I have literally
Yeah. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mental illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break.
What?
And that's where the story ends of the Westfield Watcher.
Bruh. How do you end on that letter, though?
Imagine getting that letter and just knowing I have exhausted I am stuck with this house now. This person, we are just now living in the same world together. So I have 3 theories that I feel are probably the most, logical.
Right.
But none of them really make sense to me, if I'm being totally honest with you. Right? So, like, they all have major holes in them, and none of them really are satisfying. And that's what's interesting about the story, is that it really is a true mystery. Like, you could boil down even if you go to the girlfriend that could have dropped the letter in the mailbox, that's why the female DNA was on it. So it's just like a real true mystery. And again, none of these really make a satisfying end, but they're the only 3 things that I feel like are logical, right?
Okay.
So, of course, the neighbors. The letter came from a neighbor. One thing is they did say there were 2 events. There was one event where a neighbor visited the house to kind of like welcome them to the neighborhood. And then there was another event where they went to a barbecue. The barbecue happened first, and they apparently went. And while talking to neighbors, like, they all kind of started saying weird things to them. Or according to the Broaddus family, or Derek specifically, they started saying weird things about the house. Or they started saying, like...
Who, the neighbors?
The neighbors, like, mentioning, like, oh, it's good that you brought, like, the kids here. Like, they kept mentioning, like, oh, I'm happy you brought kids to the house. Like, it's good to have some kids are in the neighborhood. Like, we never have kids at the house. Like, they just kept mentioning it, according to Derek. And another thing is that one of the neighbors that was touring the house specifically said, I'm happy you brought Youngblood to the neighborhood while standing in the living room. But here's the thing. I did a little research with the term Youngblood. It seems like it was a fairly common thing to say if you grew up in, like, the 70s. So, that means nothing now.
Yeah, true. But still.
And now, mind you, all these people have lived here probably from the 70s. They're all, like, it's that type of place
it's
where
like
everybody knows each other.
Yeah. It looks
so now,
like old money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I also don't believe the neighbor thing. And then I also don't believe the neighbor thing because if it was one of the neighbors, like, a majority of the neighbors came out and were like, yeah, no one ever talked to us. Why would they actively put themselves out there to do that? They could just shut up and no one would care.
Right.
You know, they could just say, I just don't want to be involved. It's weird. And no one would care. They can't do anything. So, like...
I wouldn't go near this.
Exactly, And I really, as scary as that last letter is, I really, truly don't think that he wrote letters to everyone and everybody was like, we must save the Watcher. I think that he just used it to his advantage.
Yeah.
You know, like if there's a hurricane and a prophet's like, see, I told you. It's like he didn't make the hurricane. He's just using it to his advantage.
Right.
You know? So now the Broaddus family is obviously the second most logical person to blame for this, or people to blame for this. I don't believe this at all. I wrote that. They spent a ton on investigators and handwriting analysis. They lost money on the sale of the house. They paid almost $100,000 in property tax over the time that they had the house, and they were able to sell it without mentioning the letters at all. So that's why earlier I said that they thought they had to mention the letters. They felt in their heart that Derek said, "How could I do this to someone else?"
Right.
And I think that is probably as much as he could come off as like a blowhard, and he seems like the type of guy that loves the attention. He obviously didn't want to fuck someone. He's obviously fucked up by this.
Right.
He shook.
He feels
lack of a term.
Yeah.
I don't
that's
believe
a
it's
nightmare.
him. Yeah,
I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yeah. I just don't think so. Plus, it fucked up their marriage heavily. Yeah. They fought constantly. But this is the nugget that makes me put this down. Right after all of this had happened, they had gotten the renter and they got that last letter.
Yeah.
Nothing again was done about that last letter. The cops basically dismissed them. The city board didn't give a fuck anymore. No one cared. The neighbors were dismissing them. No one wanted to talk to them. Derek did write anonymous letters to the families, written as if he was mocking the Watcher, but in the same style, and he accused them of not helping them at all, which...
He was salty, so he wrote letters
like
the Watcher.
But he admitted it, like, he folded immediately as soon as someone asked him. So, I truly don't think that he's the guy that wrote the letters. I really don't. But it's just so funny that he's like, you know what? I'm so mad, fuck them. And he's just, writing letters they'll see. They'll see. And they allow it, and all the neighbors are like, why did Derek drop this in my mailbox last night?
It's like, Derek, I saw you. I saw you in a bathrobe in my mailbox at 3 a.m. What are you doing, bro?
He's like, no, I wasn't.
What?
No, it wasn't, bro. You should have helped me with the Watcher. And they're just like, Derek, go home. Yeah, so now number 3, the couple confronted by Chambliss. Chambly, I don't know how you say his name. Chambly? Chambliss. The Watcher character connection and the girlfriend hanging out in front of the house, him not showing up, that's it. There's nothing else to it. The story also had already gone viral, so it could have just been someone just going to the house because it's a creepy thing and they found it online. And right. I truly, really, when you boil it down, as much as that's like I said, the neon sign pointing to it, I think that's why it's like that, because it just works out too well.
Yeah.
Even the Watcher thing, like everyone knew what it was called, so it wasn't a surprise that they said that. Let's just be real. And that's it. Like no letters have been sent that I know of. I did not reach out to anyone. I was going to try to reach out to like families involved.
Bro,
but they all have legal teams that you would have to go through, so I just decided not to do that.
Right.
But yeah, this story is wild. It's heated. I mean, the families involved like really got deep with each other. They're bringing each other to court. So like that's what makes me think like none of this is made up or fake. It's just too much.
Yeah.
The amount of money spent by everyone is just a lot. And I hope I didn't scare you to the point that you can't drive home.
Yeah, that's definitely... we're past that.
Yeah, yeah, it's fucked up, right?
Yeah, I'm fucked up.
It's scary.
This is definitely someone who knew... Whoever lived in that house, someone knows them, and is just trying to spite them. Or whatever it is. It's just trying to spite... This is just spite.
My true, honest feeling is that it's a kid that's playing a prank because he's bored.
He's just bored.
Like, it seems like the type of town that probably doesn't have a lot of kids growing up. So if you're growing up there, it's probably intensely boring unless you go to a different town. So until you could drive, you're kind of fucking stuck. I just think it's probably just a kid fucking around and he got in over his head. But then, like, why would he keep sending them? You know, like, that's the other thing. That's also what ruled Michael Langford out, was that it was like he was sick, right?
Yeah.
So, like, not to dunk on the fucking mentally ill guy.
Right.
But
he wasn't capable.
If he wouldn't have been able to keep up with it and keep it secret, like he would have been fucking totally obvious once anyone was looking at him. And the cops weren't doing anything, but he hired 3 private investigators that were. So like someone would have saw him, you know?
Yeah. But see, this is where I'm annoyed at this story, is because we have the whole easel thing. Mm-hmm. So that means it has to be someone that was able to move.
Just a detail about the easel. I forgot to mention it. There is a house that's connected to the back of their house. And there were a couple times where they did go outside and they saw that the old man that lived in the house across the backyard was sitting in a chair, like facing their house. But it's like New Jersey, it's Jersey. The backyards are massive. So it's not that he was sitting in the direction of his house. He's just sitting in the direction. He's just sitting in his yard in a direction looking up. Like, right. It's not a crime,
No.
So I don't know.
But when you have all this going on. But when you have
all of it going on, yes. No,
everyone is a suspect.
Everyone is a suspect. Yeah, and that's the Watcher.
It's so funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I hate this shit, right? It's just so scary. I hate, like, driving home with this stuff. And Winston was sleeping, my dog Winston was sleeping next to me. And he woke up for nothing. It was like the tiniest, like, little creak.
And it fucked
me up. And I was like, no, and I was just like, thank God I have this. Like, I have, like, this alarm.
Thank God,
like,
I have
live
this
alarm.
13-pound dog.
Yeah, that will, like,
my life.
If someone ever breaks in.
Winston will play with them to death.
No, like, I was like, thank God I have
dog
this.
will wear him out.
This is why we're best friends.
Yeah. Me and you?
No, man and dog.
Oh, wow, okay. Cool.
Yeah. But anyway.
Also cats, though. My cats are my fucking life.
This is, like, I want to live out in the woods one day, and then this shit, and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
These are the things that are like, oh, thank God I'm in a city.
Yeah, I really thought that I wanted to live in nature.
Yeah.
And the more stories that I read about, like, UFOs and cryptids and just animals, just real life fucking animals, like grizzly bears. Grizzly bears are real scary.
Yeah.
They're giant physical monsters.
No.
And now I have to worry about letters. I didn't think I had to worry about letters, I just didn't think I had to worry about. I thought maybe I had to worry about cyanide in the envelope, but I didn't think I had to worry about, like, pen to paper letter. And now I'm scared of letters.
If you think about it, that's pretty.
I haven't checked my mailbox in weeks.
If you think about it, he's a very powerful writer. This guy.
He writes well. I'll give him that. He writes decently well. Very suspenseful. Very artsy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so now I'm gonna get this out of the way. I kind of was gonna do this in the beginning, but I just feel like it's not the right thing to do right now. Please rate this fucking podcast. I can't tell you to rate it 5 stars, right? I can't say that. It's against the rules, conditions of the podcast, the where we stream them. But give an honest opinion. If it's anything less than 5 stars, maybe think about giving your honest opinion somewhere else. But I'm not telling you have to give me 5 stars. But maybe think about putting it somewhere else. What do you think, Yusei?
I agree.
Thank you. Yeah, and write a review. Reviews make us so much better to be found by other people. To the 2 people that listen to us in the UK, I assume it's one dude that showed his friend. I fucking appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Love it. I absolutely love it. My brain is getting bigger and rotting at the same time. It's weird.
Go ahead.
But yeah, no, this is it. That's it. So rate and review. Follow the podcast so you can see when the new episodes come out. We're aiming for every other Thursday, for now, until we can kind of get the roll of things. But I would say every other Thursday is good. And the next episode is the Chupacabra. So you have that to look forward to. So I'm currently reading that big book over there.
I'm still scared of this one.
The Watcher, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
All right.
So fucked.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.